Everyone a few minutes and then we'll get started. So we'll just wait a few minutes and then we'll get stuck in. How are you guys? FloQast, are you all ready to go?
We are very well. Very busy, but very well. Q4 for us.
Yeah, busy time of year. I think everyone's calendars are filling up pretty quickly.
Yeah, Christmas is around the corner.
Yeah, coming too quickly. All right, we'll just give it a few more minutes. So just everyone that has joined, our webinar today will take around 40 minutes and we will have questions towards the end. So yeah, hopefully you'll get lots out of today and enjoy the session. So yeah, just give it a couple more minutes and then we'll get started. All right, we might get started. Thanks for joining, everyone. We look forward to hearing your thoughts throughout the presentation. Just a little bit of housekeeping. There is a chat box to the right, so feel free to put questions up in the chat and we'll answer those either throughout the session or towards the end. So my name's Renee, Customer Success Manager here at Annexa. I look after our Victorian and New Zealand-based customers. And we have the wonderful team here from FloQast. So I'll pass it over to Nick to do a quick intro and then we'll get started.
Great, thanks. Nice to hop on the webinar here. My name is Nick. I'm one of the account executives at FloQast in Australia. Work out of Sydney, but if my accent isn't the giveaway, I'm not from here initially. Moved over from San Francisco last October to this part of the world. I usually walk NetSuite teams through demonstrations. I'll be kind of walking you through some slides today, but just so everyone's aware, I'm also a former accountant, former auditor myself. So thanks for having me on today, and I'll pass it off to Jace.
I'm going to go next. My name is Remy. I am a senior sales engineer here at FloQast, and I'll be the one driving us through an overview of our platform today. But just like Nick, I got my career started in accounting. I did about 7 years in public accounting before making the switch over to FloQast. I too just recently relocated down here to Sydney to join the team that is growing on the ground here in Australia and New Zealand. So really excited to chat with you all today.
There we go. Thanks, Rem. And hi, everyone. My name is Jason Toshak. I was the first person on the ground here in Sydney for FloQast January last year. But prior to that, I was just over 16 years with NetSuite. Had a number of different roles during that time, as you can imagine. But most recently was looking after the Australian and New Zealand business under the Oracle umbrella, as you're all very aware. And so, look, I've been really lucky to work very, very closely with the Annexa team since they became partners of NetSuite many years ago. Really excited to, launch the partnership again with FloQast and Annexa. So, really looking forward to showing everyone on the call today what FloQast is all about and how closely we work with the NetSuite environments. So over to
me.
There we go.
Thank you. So basically, welcome everyone. We'll get started now. So the agenda for today is obviously we've done our intros. We'll get stuck into an overview of FloQast, and then we'll go through a product demonstration and then have questions towards the end. We'll also do just a little bit about Annexa. So essentially we've done our speakers, well done. So Annexa, a little bit about us. So we've been around for many years. We've grown substantially over the past sort of 20 years. We're now one of the leading Oracle NetSuite implementation partners across Australia and New Zealand. Over the years, we've developed and implemented over 200 implementations. We work across a large range of industries from retail, manufacturing, services, and not-for-profit. We have a strong team of over 70 plus consultants across Australia, New Zealand and Asia. And we have lots of experience across the functional and technical side. And we work closely with our customers to make sure we have, I guess, the best solution to meet their needs and enable growth, which is essentially why we like to partner with partners such as FloQast. So we want to make sure that our customers are set up for success and make sure that their solution is set up to help them move forward. So really, that's probably enough from me. We'll get stuck in. And yeah, we'll over to the FloQast team. So I'll just move this slide across.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Thank you very much for that. So look, just quickly before we actually get into the application to share what it's all about, I thought I'd just set the scene just with a couple of quick slides. So FloQast, we were founded back in 2013 and really started out on the financial month-end close space. But since then, over the last 11, 12 years, really expanded the application to really become a real an accounting transformation platform. And what we mean by that is basically providing our customers a platform that can help automate as many of the manual processes, not just from the close, but all the upstream and downstream processes that most finance teams have to manage, to really try and automate and streamline a lot of those manual tasks associated with that. So, so really sort of pivoted from being just a very, I suppose, a point player into sort of a finance-wide application. We were developed by accountants, and our tagline is, by accountants for accountants. Everyone from our co-founders, CEO, all the way through to 80% of the FloQast team are ex-auditors and ex-accountants. So we really know what the finance team, some of the pains and challenges they've seen, and have obviously come up with what we believe is the best way forward to try and address some of those. From a customer standpoint, we've got about 3,000 customers now, and about half of that are NetSuite customers. So we ourselves use NetSuite internally within FloQast. So everything we build is for NetSuite first, and then we roll out into some of the other platforms. And from a growth standpoint, we started in the US, expanded out into EMEA, and January last year came down to Sydney, and are looking to expand up into Singapore and Southeast Asia this year as well. From a G2, from a review standpoint, G2 and Trust Radius, we really like these two review sites just because they are peer-to-peer rather than, I suppose, paid sites. But if you go there, FloQast is by far and away the leading financial close software in the market there. So from where FloQast sits, so everyone on this call no doubt is using NetSuite for their ERP and GL. So however, most finance teams, if not all, will be doing a lot of their month-end close and reconciliation, I suppose, requirements in Excel, in the workbooks there. So where FloQast sits is really in the middle of all that, providing you a central platform that can really sort of take everything in your GL, compare that to what's been happening in your Excel environment, your workbooks there from a month-to-month or month-end close standpoint. And then being that we are built on more modern technology than some of the legacy tools out there, born in the cloud, etc., which allows us to then integrate with things like your cloud storage providers, which then as a default allows us to access and integrate directly into your Excel workbooks. The other great thing about being built on newer technology is that from a communication standpoint, we integrate with the Teams of the world, the Slacks of the world, etc. So you don't always have to be going into FloQast to be able to make quick decisions, approvals and things like that. You can actually do it through the mechanisms that your teams are already using today.
Oh, sorry.
No worries. And then finally, just before we move on, I just wanted to give a bit of a snapshot of some of the FloQast, joint FloQast and NetSuite customers we have. Obviously, there's a list of global organizations here, but you can also see some great local companies here with Employment Hero, Deputy, Camplifier, etc. So we are getting a lot of really good success, both locally here within Australia and New Zealand, but also globally amongst the NetSuite team. And no doubt, if you haven't seen us before at either Suite Connects or Suite Worlds, hopefully some of these names ring a bell, and we can, I suppose, share how we can help you with the month-end close process as well. So with that, I'll pass over to Nick.
Great, thanks, Jace. As Jason was saying, we're going to highlight today, we'll go through a demo of FloQast, which is what Remy is going to walk you guys through. But before we do that, I want to give a little bit of background about really the story of FloQast and how we came into being from this financial close software into an accounting transformation platform. The challenge that a lot of teams face, that it's not unique to any industry, but is something that I think really everyone can relate to, is the evolving landscape of accounting and finance. Accounting is something that's unique. It's complicated as more reporting requirements, as there becomes tightening around regulations. There's this increased demand for accounting. But something that has been noticed and is very obvious over the past couple of years is the decreased talent in the field. As more graduates come out of school, fewer are becoming CPAs, fewer are entering the accounting profession, and naturally there is this gap that exists right now and is only going to expand over the next 10 years between that demand for more rigorous, accurate accounting and the talent that currently exists. So FloQast aims to be that glue between that pressure externally and the talent that currently exists by elevating your current preparers from doing that manual, mundane month-end tasks into more analytical reviewers. The way we go about this is by embedding AI into our platform and really sticking to our roots of being accountants at heart. And that's something that pretty much everyone on this call will notice as we walk through the platform, is how tailor-made this is for the accounting and finance professional, because it was made by accounting and finance professionals. As anyone who's gone through any sort of like major upgrade will notice, right, within their systems, there tends to be usually a pretty big lift, right, from the perspective of getting everyone onto a certain system. And what FloQast aims to do is transform your day-to-day activities without disrupting your, what you do on a weekly, daily, monthly basis. What we mean by that is not only a seamless implementation that takes weeks as opposed to months, but also integrating with NetSuite, with your instance of maybe Microsoft Teams or Slack, whatever you're using today, your cloud storage provider, really being the glue between all of those systems. So FloQast can be that one-stop shop, not just for your month-end close, but everything that falls under the umbrella of the CFO, managing workflows, automating reconciliations, and then also enhancing compliance and reporting. So what we'll focus on mostly today through the demonstration is the optimization and the automation piece of FloQast. What this looks like around enhancing visibility, creating standardization, but also automating those tedious, mundane tasks that take up so much time, especially for growing teams that don't want to throw more heads and bodies at doing these reconciliations, but rather let's have FloQast automate them. So again, we can elevate those preparers into being more analytical reviewers, which is a win-win for everyone. But as you can see here, part of this journey includes that ability to enhance compliance and integrated reporting so that this ultimately becomes your one-stop shop, not just, again, for the month-end close, but everything under the finance and accounting department. And with that, I think I will pass it off to Remy.
Great. I'm just pulling up my screen here. Great. So where we're going to start today is the highest level overview of our application. So this is really the homepage of FloQast, and a great spot for any controllers, CFOs, those in leadership positions to get a true pulse on how everything is progressing across their department. So whether it is around our close, which we are going to spend a lot of time talking about today, but it could be for compliance activities or even additional operational workflows that the team might be working on. All of those bits of work that the team is, focusing on today, we'll be able to pull into FloQast and thus bubble up into this great status update for the team. Everything that we are going to talk about here is drillable. So as I get going, I'm going to click into the global close for September, and that's going to bring me one step deeper into the status of this process. So as we can see here, I get a little bit more data on why we are running behind, so 64% as opposed to our 86% on track target. It's being driven by our checklist and reconciliation items. We support businesses that have just one trial balance that they are trying to standardize their processes over, as well as global organizations where we're trying to get visibility across an organization. So as you can see, we have multiple entities running down this drop down here. So I'm going to zoom in just to our FloQast Australia entity, which is again going to bring me another level deeper into FloQast so I can really tune in on what is going on with this particular entity. Further, we can take our entity and break it down one step further into the concept of folders. So really organizing the work that we have occurring within FloQast, and anything that you're seeing here is entirely customizable to fit the needs of your team and even reflect how it is occurring within NetSuite. One last click here from me, I'm drilling into accrued compensation, which is going to bring me into one of the most detailed views within FloQast. So really where the work is going to be performed by our teams and really kickstart that close process. It's going to be broken up into 3 parts, which include our checklist, our associated documents, as well as our reconciliations. So starting back up at the top with our checklist, this is really the first stage for a lot of our customers. They are coming to us with a checklist that they are currently leveraging in a manual basis. So maybe that's in Excel, or maybe they're not coming to us with any checklist at all. Wherever the team falls on the spectrum, we are able to help them start to build out some best practices, within FloQast. So that includes adding in descriptions, due dates, and preparers and reviewers to really get their arms around the process that's occurring. In addition, with assigning out those items, we do provide a bit of automation here. So what do I mean by that? Really, as I come in and start to mark off items as they've been prepared, like I've done here on the 23rd of October, FloQast is going to come in and provide a notification to my reviewer, Adam in this case, via Teams, Slack, or email that this is on his plate and ready to review. At the same time, we really are bringing everything into one screen here. So we have documents. So I'm able to attach that as a prepare for my reviewer to begin their review within FloQast, as well as review notes. So have the ability to receive or give feedback within the application. This entire process does have workflow around it, so we're able to keep a pulse on whether or not all of the review notes that we have for a certain period are closed or not. Something to note alongside just really going with FloQast here is how easy and simple it is to use and maintain. So as Jason and Nick mentioned at the top of the call, we are founded by accountants for accounting and finance teams. So that means really keeping this application in the arms of that department. So I don't have to reach out to IT or any other administrative personnel to make any updates within FloQast. So I just opened up that settings wheel, and with proper user permissions, I am able to update descriptions, prepares, reviewers, as well as due dates. I can make really simple changes. So maybe providing Aaron in this case with the opportunity to be the preparer on this item from this period moving forward, or maybe Aaron is just taking over for someone who's sick. So we are going to mark him as completing this for this period only, and FloQast will revert the tool back to our original prepare in subsequent periods. So really meant to be nice and easy to use. But scrolling down here to our documents, and this is really where we're going to start to highlight that integration with NetSuite. But first stop is documentation. So a prerequisite to use FloQast is having a cloud storage provider that the team is leveraging today. So internally at FloQast, we leverage OneDrive, but we can really integrate with any OneDrive, SharePoint, Google Drive, you name it. We more than likely have an integration with that platform. How it works is we would establish a FloQast root folder within that cloud storage provider and then build out the folders as needed for the business. So you can see here, I have my Australia folder along with the corresponding years, months, and business processes. This is a two-way API between FloQast and the cloud storage provider. So anything that is going to be saved within cloud storage will be reflected in FloQast. And the reason why we do that is to make sure that your team has full ownership over your data, as well as to provide control over reconciliation. So as Nick mentioned, we're going to talk about a lot of ways to automate recons within FloQast, but how we really got our name out there is through our integration with native Excel. So I'm going to show you that first, and that is really why we want those files to be living on cloud storage, because we're able to provide control over that process. Scrolling down to this reconciliation section, again, this is where that integration with NetSuite is really going to shine. So this per TB column that you're seeing here, the balances that are being associated with each account are from a live API with NetSuite. So we are going to be able to pull these balances in on a real-time basis, and it is quite simple to set up. It takes about 20 minutes to make this connection from FloQast to NetSuite. Reconciled balance is coming from my supporting documentation, and I'll show you how that works in just a moment. And then we have our differences. So the ability to set a materiality threshold. For the account that I'm assigned to, my threshold is $100, but we can see that I'm well below that. So FloQast has a control in place to make sure that I am unable to sign off on that reconciliation. To make an update, I can click on this hyperlink since we are linked to a live file within OneDrive. But I do have one open here on my other screen. So as I pull it on over, something that I really want the teams to recognize here is that FloQast does not require you to make any changes to your existing reconciliation files. The only update we are going to make is adding in this hashtag FQ dash the account string, and that's going to sit to the right of the balance that we're trying to reconcile. It can sit in any sheet, any cell. It really doesn't matter. Just as long as it's sitting to the right of the balance, we'll be able to pull it in. So to show you how this works in real time, I'm going to key in this 35 grand, which is updating, of course, that reconciled balance. I'm going to save it down to OneDrive and then come into FloQast and do a push refresh. And what we're doing here is we are pinging our two sources of truth. So I'm going to hit refresh. We are going to get a ping from NetSuite and we are going to ping our Excel files. And as you saw here, my balance dropped within my threshold. So I am okay to go ahead and sign off on this reconciliation, as well as certify that I have done these particular steps in my preparation. Once I do that, FloQast is going to capture my name, date and time stamp in a back-end audit trail, so signifying that I have completed this on the 30th of October, and provide my reviewer, Kevin Williams, with a notification that this is ready for review and it's in his queue. I'm going to now move over into my reconciliation view. So this is going to show me all of my reconciliations that I have for my entire Australia entity, not broken out by any sort of process folder. If I wanted to, I can look at everything across all entities, and then I can use these quick filters. So what you're looking at here is everything that is assigned to me. To round out our conversation on the implicit controls that FloQast provides, I do want to show you what we call here redo mode. So what that means is after a reconciliation is signed off upon by a preparer, if FloQast were to detect any changes in NetSuite that would, essentially knock this reconciliation out of balance, FloQast will suspend the sign off as it did for Nick here, and Nick would get a notification that he needs to come in and rectify this reconciliation. That is how we really do integrate with Excel, but I know we would really want to highlight how we can essentially start to streamline the close, and that is going to be done in FloQast with some automation. So where I'd like to start today is one of my favorite pieces of functionality, what we call AI matching. So for our example here today, we are going to talk about a bank reconciliation, but do know that FloQast AI matching can really be used for any and all use cases. So a bank rec, of course, is really straightforward. We all understand how a bank reconciliation works today. But this can be leveraged for a credit card reconciliation, goods received not invoice. I've seen it used for any use case where the team would be comparing two different sets of data. So I'll show you how this works and how we have embedded AI into this process. So assuming the role of an accountant here that is preparing this reconciliation, I'm going to search down on all transactions in my GL, which is the side that we're looking at right here, that have the reference field of 235. So as I key that in, I'm going to search, and FloQast is going to pull up all of the associated transactions that have a reference field of 235. So I'm going to select those. And since I am quite familiar with this account, I reconcile it month over month here at my organization. I know when transactions typically look like this, they are going to tie out to one balance on my bank side. So I'm going to select that corresponding balance here. And something to note is that these transactions are, again, flowing in through that API from NetSuite, as well as APIs that we have with the bank. So again, very light touch, and it's going to be present here for the user to begin matching. So I've made that match. It appears to balance, and I'm going to ask AI to create a rule for me. So FloQast is taking a look at the action that I just did. So I selected many transactions from my GL and one transaction from my bank side, and it wrote out a rule for me in plain English. So something to note here is that AI did this, but I do have the option to make any edits as needed. So I can add in a materiality threshold. Maybe I want to add in about 5 cents I'm comfortable matching down to, or perhaps I want to build in a greater date window than 1 day. Whatever it might be, I can build that in. And once I'm happy with it, I'm going to click Save and Apply. So FloQast is using the patterns that our teams are doing, so making manual matches and leveraging AI to write rules for us in plain English. So again, IT does not have to get involved. This is not going to be any sort of coding or IT activity. It's really going to follow the actions of the accounting team. What you'll see is that with the rule that we wrote together, FloQast created 23 matches. So as I go into my matched transactions tab and filter down on the rule that we created together, what we're going to see is that first match that we made, so that 1 to 33, that $1.4 million. But FloQast also made a host of different matches for us, including a 1 to 51 transaction match, and a 1 to 240 transaction match. So there's no real limit here on how many transactions FloQast can match together for us, if of course it is following that rule. What it's doing at the same time is it's bringing us to our exceptions a lot quicker. So as we get these rules stood up within FloQast, hopefully FloQast is able to match 100% of all transactions for us. But of course, stuff happens and maybe there were entries that were missed. So perhaps I cleared out my entire GL side, but I still have some transactions in the bank that I may have forgotten to post for whatever reason. Since FloQast is fully integrated with NetSuite and we do pride ourselves on that automation piece, we can actually raise a journal entry from this screen as well. So I just selected a transaction just as a quick example, and I can hit create journal entry. This is going to be customized based off of the journal templates that are particular to your team. And we can get this up and running again in under 5 minutes. Our setup team likes to pride on that connection that we can customize that template and get it coded and mapped to the associated accounts rather quickly. So the real onus here is for the work to be performed from FloQast, and NetSuite is still going to continue to act as the system of record. I'm going to move back into my reconciliations just to show you a few other pieces how FloQast hopes to make lives easier for our teams. So as I come back to this listing that we are looking at, I want to really chat about transactions that may have fallen out of balance and how we can resolve those items quicker. So I'm moving into all entities and I'm still filtering down on my Australia, New Zealand tag here. And something I want to call out is this petty cash account. So we can see that there is a difference here of about $700. So we can't sign off on the reconciliation, and maybe I want to know why we're not in balance. With that native API with NetSuite, I can view the transactions that are occurring for this specific account and this specific period. So as I click in, FloQast is again loading through the transactions from NetSuite, and we're going to be able to see quite clearly the two transactions that have thrown this account out of balance. So I can see they are highlighted in red here. So I can, of course, make any decisions that I need to. Maybe I need to update a reconciliation to capture these two transactions, or again, maybe they were posted in error. We can raise a journal entry from this screen as well to reverse items out of this account if that's the appropriate activity there. So really trying to make it quite simple for the team to stay in balance between NetSuite and their supporting schedules.
Remy, and just to confirm, like that journal entry will then get posted back into NetSuite, right?
Absolutely. Yes. So as we get that set up for our teams, we will, of course, also assist with building out appropriate preparers and reviewers to mimic that structure that may be done in NetSuite today, but the journal entry will flow through to NetSuite. Great. I do want to talk about just one more reconciliation type, and that is our subledger reconciliation. So I'm going to pull those on up for us. And the real onus here is, again, to take this off of the plate of the team. So as I filter down on subledger, what we'll see is, again, per GL. So this is coming from NetSuite, of course, and then our reconciled balance. So something unique about FloQast is our connections with other tools as well. So NetSuite is something that we are going to be able to connect to right off the bat. But should you want to connect to another source that might be acting as a subledger for you, we certainly can do that. So we've had teams connect to a Bill.com or an OpenAir or any other platform that might be used for subledger purposes. And what FloQast is going to do is it's automatically going to check the balance between NetSuite and that associated subledger. And if it is in balance, it will automatically sign off for us. So, of course, our subledger and our GL should be in balance. So hopefully that is a really quick win for our teams. But should something be out of balance, again, we are pulling in those transactions here for the team to review. So just trying to make it a lot more centralized and easy for teams to go about that reconciliation process. Last piece I wanted to touch on here today is our variance analysis. So we are able to perform a variance analysis over the balance sheet and or the P&L, doesn't really matter, whatever you'd like to do. And we can do it over any 2 periods, so month over month, quarter over quarter, year over year, whatever it might be, as well as if we wanted to do a budget to actual. I'm clicking into this report just as a quick example to really show you how we can build this out. So again, it is going to be pulling in our real-time data from NetSuite, and we're going to be able to customize this structure. So here I just have it by that natural account level, but if I want to build in any sort of dimension, which I know is really popular for P&L flux analyses, we can do that as well. But FloQast, again, we want to help make lives easier, and we have really started to do that with AI within our variance analysis. So as I click in here, what FloQast is going to do for us is begin to generate an explanation for the variance in this account. And it's doing that by parsing through those transactions that we are pulling in from NetSuite and writing an explanation for us. So it gave us a really nice starting point for our variance analysis here. I can also prompt FloQast to make updates to this explanation. So like you're seeing here, make it shorter, make it longer. We are also able to tell it to highlight the top 5 vendors, maybe that's something that you would like to look at, or the top 5 transactions that are occurring between that period. And if we so choose, we can make that rule sticky. So we can have the AI explanation prepare an explanation in that fashion, period over period. Once I'm happy with this item, I can hit use explanation, which is going to bring it over here to me, so I can always edit it should I need to. But this will also be preserved within FloQast, and it is exportable. So should we need to, send it over to any powers that be, our CFO, our board, whomever it might be, we can do that from the FloQast platform. And last little bit that I wanted to touch on here before I pass it back to the team is our analytics tab. So this is really where teams do get value in helping to streamline their close. So what we are doing here is taking a look at, first and foremost, the progress of the period that is occurring here. So this is going to give us a similar summary to what occurred at the top. So we can see that 63% complete, but I can see it broken out by folder as well as by team member. So really helpful here for work allocation. I do always like to call on my friend Taylor here, who has 42 items and he's running behind. So maybe I want to take some of his activities and pass them over to Allie, who seems to be on track. Similarly, we will perform a trend analysis for you. So hopefully the team can continue to accelerate and be more efficient in periods to come. So we do like to see a nice downward trend here for our teams, but we'll also show you where we're getting hung up. So our bottlenecks, if you will, our recurring late checklist items, our recurring late reconciliations, as well as our recurring late team members. Not meant to get anyone in trouble by any means, but really to help the team gather data to see how we can become more efficient together and maybe shift some things around so everyone can finish the close much quicker. Before I pass it back to the team, I wasn't able to see the chat, but were there any questions, Nick, perhaps that I may have missed while I was going through?
Thanks, Remy. That demo was really good, really great insight. There was just a couple of questions. So Nick, I will pass it over to you just to go through those, if that's okay.
Yeah, no worries. One of the ones that came in that I saw was around the types of teams that use FloQast. Can you describe, is there like a typical team that uses the solution? And honestly, I can take that, unless maybe Jace or Remy you want to hop in. But yeah, it's pretty common to see teams across different industries, right? Use FloQast. We always use the term, not only are we like ERP agnostic, but we're industry agnostic as well. Teams starting around 5 to 6, anywhere to over 100 accountants is where we help out with. So it's really a wide range of teams that use us, and yeah, it's high growth or it's more established teams. Yeah, anyone else want to take that?
No, I was just going to add in there that, yeah, so once finance teams typically hit around that sort of 5 to 6 mark, that's really when we start to see the benefits of having something like FloQast in, especially if it's due to high growth and geographical expansion, where you've got teams all over the place, and it just becomes far more difficult to figure out where everyone's up to in that month-end close process. But from an industry standpoint, as Nick mentioned, completely agnostic. Every industry has a month-end close, so yeah, we can typically help all.
We've just got one more question. Journals do flow back into NetSuite? ?
They do, yes. So that is through the API that we have with NetSuite. So we are able to raise a journal entry from FloQast. So whether it is from those screens that we saw previously, or if it is a manual journal entry, we can do that with a pre-built template in FloQast, or if you have a Excel template that you'd like to upload, that will flow back through as well.
And then following on from that, bank statements coming from bank portals or from NetSuite?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the bank statements and those associated transactions would be coming directly from the bank. So we are able to API with those banks, so we don't have to go from the bank to NetSuite to FloQast. We can just get the data straight from the bank.
Just one more question. In terms of implementation process, how long would it generally take, that sort of thing?
Yeah, good question. So usually it depends, right, on the team size, but I would say it starts around 5 weeks or so to get up and running. And really all we need to get started on that is chart of accounts, a trial balance, and like whatever checklist or like tracker you're using within Excel today or wherever. That's all we need on your guys' end to kickstart that implementation process. And it is that work is being done by our team in the back end, right? Those are CPAs, chartered accountants who are running through that implementation process. But it's a pretty streamlined lift. And if anyone has any questions about that after in more detail, I'd be happy to hop on a call and walk you through that.
Yeah, and just to add to that, one of the very surprising and refreshing things moving from NetSuite and sort of an ERP implementation, which we all know, it's a big change to the business, was just the ease of an implementation of something like FloQast. One of the other benefits of, I suppose, the way that we do it is being that we are 80% accountants and ex-auditors. Most of the team here know that there's never any free moments in the finance team's day. So having them sort of take on the ownership of an implementation is really, really tough. So we typically try and do all the heavy lifting and then go back to yourselves, the customers, just to really review the work we've done. And if we need to make any tweaks, just tell us what to do and we'll go and do that heavy lifting again, because we just know there's never a good time for a finance team to roll out an application.
Great. All right. Well, I think we've come to the end of our presentation. Yeah, thank you everyone for joining us. If you've got any further questions, feel free to reach out to Annexa. We will share the video post wrapping up, and yeah, we look forward to hearing from you. And thanks again for joining. Thanks, FloQast, for coming on board.
Thanks, Renee. Thanks very much, Annexa.
Thanks, Renee.
Thanks for everyone for joining us today.
Great.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.